everyone, and welcome to the My Ray of Sunshine podcast. My name is Mayra, and I'm here to help you receive the advice you deserve. Now, if you all are here, it's probably because you want to know exactly how you can get out of your shell. I know that at times it can be very scary, and we just want to hide and pretend like we're the only ones in the room rather than so many people being around us. And sometimes socializing can really get your heart racing because you don't know how that other person is going to react. You don't know how they are or whether they are friendly, whether they're not, and sometimes you just kind of have to risk it. And that is why I am here to sort of help you from experience, because I continue to struggle with this, but just keeping a few of my tips in mind really helps ease everything. So, one of the tips that I recommend is that just go up to someone and talk to them. Like, maybe they're looking friendly, or maybe you just don't want to feel uncomfortable alone in a weird setting. I know sometimes like it's so comforting knowing that we actually have an acquaintance in the room and then just building off from there. You can try to see if you guys have anything in common, whether you guys maybe have chemistry or some sort of classes together. Just about anything. Just find a common ground with someone. Like, I think that is the most important and crucial thing. Because let's say you go to a gathering and there's a bunch of people that you're not really familiar with, just try to pick either the friendliest face or try to pick someone who you kind of sort of know, but not really. And then you're like, maybe I should get to know that person. Just making yourself more, in their face, kind of trying to get to know them a little bit better can really help ease any sort of doubts that you might have, any sort of fears that you might have approaching that person. Because I'm sure that if you're scared of approaching them, they're also scared of approaching you, because sometimes it's just kind of like it's kind of like what you guys both go through. You both are just nervous, and the thing is, it takes one person to make it less scary. Like, it takes one person to make that extra move, to actually go up and talk to someone else, and it can really make a huge difference in how your night's gonna go, how your day's gonna go, just because I'm sure the other person will feel a lot less stressed having to worry about who are they going to talk to. So I really, really recommend that. And like I said, just going up and taking that 20 seconds of insane courage that you have, because I love that quote so much. And I think that it is so, so beneficial to my life right now, because where I'm scared, I just say, okay, it just takes 20 seconds of me taking a leap of faith, of me trying to push myself and trying to get myself known, with whether it's with a person or a job interview. Like, I feel like you always kind of have to, put your best foot forward and, hope for the best. But I think that knowing that you are the one that's holding the power, you are the one that can make the difference, can kind of ease your worries, at least just a little bit. And another recommendation that I have for you is that, sometimes it does get very overwhelming. It can get very overwhelming, but wherever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you feel overwhelmed, I would just say, take a step back, try to figure out what exactly you guys can talk about. Like, who do you want to approach, first of all? And second of all, like, do you know this person? Is this person a complete stranger? Is this person someone that you have to have a good impression with? For instance, like in a job interview, do you have to make a good impression with this person? Or is it someone that it doesn't really matter whether they like you or not? You're just kind of like, hopefully, if me talking to them breaks the ice, I'll feel better about the rest of the day, you know? So it really does depend on what relationship you want to build from that experience. Just you pushing yourself and going out there and really, really trying to make conversation with someone. And I think that once you are able to identify what kind of relationship you want with this person, whether it's short term, whether it's long term, just try to like gather your thoughts, take a breather, step back, and just kind of remind yourself of who you are. And not only that, but it's so important for you to remind yourself that just like you are trying to have this person, connect with this person, they're probably feeling the same way. And hey, you have nothing to hide, okay? I know a lot of the times we just hide in our shells. We don't want to peep out because we don't want to be rejected, or we don't want to be looked a different way or judged or made fun of. The list just goes on and on and on, and I can't stress that enough because I have been there, and it's not fun when you don't know how the conversation is going to go, whether this person is actually someone that you can see yourself being friends with, or someone who's just going to pretend like you didn't even come up to them and talk to them and ignore you and make you feel like an idiot. So you never know unless you try. And hopefully it's never that bad. Hopefully it never gets to that extent where they just pretend like you are just a fly on the wall and they could care less. At least I really hope so, because, I feel like the queen of awkward situations. I am so awkward, you guys, and I can go on and on about every awkward situation that I've encountered. It's just endless over here, and I just feel like once you just cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break, and stop being so in your head. Because we can think, are they going to think I'm weird? Are they going to think that I'm a certain way? If you keep questioning everything and overthinking it, you're just going to freak yourself out, and you're not going to talk to them anymore because you're kind of like overwhelmed as to what could potentially happen. But as long as you can take a step back and actually think about what you want and what you want to take away from this encounter, I guess, because anything is a learning experience, really. Like, it could go horribly wrong. But if you put yourself forward and you tried your best, then, at least you should be proud of yourself for that. And honestly, even if it goes wrong, like completely wrong, and they ignore you, at least now you know that you don't have to encounter with that person, hopefully, ever again. And you can just step away from that situation, remove yourself from it, and find someone who is friendlier. Like, I feel like there's always a friendly face wherever you go. And I was actually that person that was always in school, at work, anywhere. I was always like with a smile on my face, and that's why people would always approach me and they're like, "Oh, hey," and I would always socialize with people. And I loved that because I love talking to people. That's why I'm talking to all of you. But I did enjoy that aspect, and I did love getting to know people, and I never once wanted to make anyone feel uncomfortable or rejected or like that they can't approach me, because I am very approachable. And that's why I always preach that you guys can reach out to me for advice. But I just feel like there's always that friendly face out there, and you just have to look for it in the crowd. And like I said, even if your encounter doesn't go the way that you want it to go, then hopefully you can take something away from that. And don't let it affect your confidence either, because you were the one to make that first move. You were the one to put yourself out there to start that conversation, whereas that person didn't. And, that's on them. So the fact that you actively put yourself out there, the fact that you tried to get out of your comfort zone, as scary as it may be, because I'm not saying that it's going to be like easy, you're just going to be able to go up to anyone, any stranger, and then tell them how it is. I mean, possibly, but it can take a little bit of time for you to get there, and that's okay. Just like I said, give yourself a break, take a breather, rekindle yourself, and figure out what exactly you want from this experience. And just know that, like, this is you putting yourself out there. This is you actually trying your best, and you should appreciate yourself for that. And whatever happens next, don't let that affect who you are. Don't let that change who you are either. Because trust me, like, I have gotten ignored so many times, and it can be very demotivating too. But I never changed who I was because of an external factor. Like, I never changed the person that I was because of something someone said or didn't say. And, that's what you have to keep reminding yourself too. You have to keep reminding yourself that it's okay what you're feeling. It's normal. Everyone gets nervous when they're approaching someone new and when they're making new friends, because don't you just miss in kindergarten where you would just sit next to someone on the bus and then they'll ask you if they want to be your friend, and then you say yes, and the rest is history. Like, you guys are best friends. And I just love that because, you go to school, it's scary. Unexpectedly, you find someone to sit next to on the bus. You say, hey, do you want to be friends? They're like, yes. And then you guys are best friends for life. And then it's just that easy when you're young. But just because it's that easy when you're young doesn't mean that it has to be this hard now. Like, there are different ways that you can sort of build friendships and make new friends and meet new people and just put yourself out there. And I've also found that complimenting people can really help ease the situation, break the ice. Saying things like, oh, I like your outfit, I like your shoes. For some reason, I was always the one that would say, like, hey, I like your shoes. I don't know why, like, I don't know. I don't know why I used shoes in particular, but use whatever works for you, honestly. Use it to your advantage and go for it. Like, if you find yourself that it's easier to talk to someone else by complimenting their shoes, do it. And I mean, it's honestly such a great feeling once you are able to compliment someone else that you find them like smiling and like, sharing more about where they got their shoes from. Like, it'll build off a relationship. And it's really nice knowing that, like, something as simple as a compliment, how far it can really, really go. So I would honestly say just compliment them. People love talking about themselves too. So that is also something that you could ask when you're approaching someone. Just asking them more about them and trying to figure out and learn more about them and, what they're doing or like what their plans are. There are so many different things that you guys can talk about. And let's say, for instance, if you guys are in a class and you've seen this person so many times in this class and you guys are in many classes after that, like, try to talk to them. talk to them, talk to that friendly face or that familiar face that you always see, and talk about the homework, or talk about how, you haven't studied the night before and you're kind of stressing out, and then just, build your way slowly but surely. Build it up, and soon it'll start to be a friendship. That's where a friendship really forms in the most unique ways possible. And a lot of the times it's when you least expect it to, so always be ready to find a friend. Now, like I mentioned, people love talking about themselves, and I've also read in a book that people also love hearing their names. I know that's weird, but just think about it. So if someone says like, "Hey Mayra, can you pass me this piece of paper?" You hear your name, you're identified to that because, it's your name. And then you kind of feel some sort of attachment. You feel respected in a way, and it'll tend to be like a very easy situation for you to start to, love the fact that they were able to include you. Like you feel that feeling of inclusion. And that is what simply as something as little as saying your name can do. And, like I said, I loved the fact that I learned that from what's the book? How to Win Friends and Influence People. There you go. That's the one. I read that and I was like, say no more. I will say people's names and, make them feel special, because that's the feeling that it brings. When people call you by name, or when people use your name, tag it along in a sentence, it's just more of like an attachment in a sense. And, you're golden after that. Like, we could be best friends after that. Just say my name. So, hopefully that helps you guys, like, kind of step outside of your comfort zone. Like I said, I've been there and it can be really overwhelming and it can be really tricky, especially now, to make friends with new people. But just know that you're not the only one afraid of making friends with others. And as long as you can be the first one to make that initial move to talk to them and start a conversation, that's already going such a long, long way, because not many people can bring themselves to do that. And like I said before, whether it works out or not, at least you tried. But never lose that hope and get discouraged with finding new friendships and building from that. And a few of the lessons that I've learned actually is that when I said finding a friendly face in a crowd full of people and how there's always that friendly face, you'd be surprised where you find those friendly faces and where those friendships can lead. Because I can recall when I went to see David Archuleta for the first time. I was fangirling. I was fangirling hard time. Hardcore fangirling over him. Not gonna lie. But I was so nervous because I was the only one doing the meet and greet. Even though I went with my mom and little sister, like, they were just waiting for me to like come out from the meet and greet. So I just remember being so nervous, knowing that I was going to meet him before I knew it. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to say and, trying not to fangirl too hard. But I was really trying to figure out like how the situation could be a little bit easier for me. Because like I said, I was the only one doing the meet and greet. So it turns out that like as I'm skimming the crowd of people that were waiting to meet him, a lot of the people that were there, they were already coming in groups. So they were already, in a sense, like occupied doing their own like having their own conversations, that sort of thing. So I had to find someone who was just like me by themselves And I did. I found someone who was by herself. She was standing in line, like we were actually standing right close to each other. And I I saw that she was like smiling and just like looking nervously everywhere, which was exactly how I was feeling, to be honest. And I just, asked her, like, hey, are you excited to meet him? And, we started off talking about him. We had a whole conversation, asking each other where we were from and all these things. And we still talk to this day. Whenever he has a concert, she'll ask me if I'm going to see him. So, just it's kind of crazy how a friendship was able to build from a meet and greet, because I'm telling you, I'm so glad that I actually was able to bring myself to talk to her, because I was also nervous. But I was glad too, because we were able to take pictures for each other, and like we were sitting next to each other, and we were actually in the very, very front, and we were fangirling over him as he went on the stage, and it was just really nice knowing that someone else was such a huge fan. So that was a common ground that we had, and that was something that I really, really loved, because it helped ease the nervousness because I was very nervous and I didn't know how to go about talking to David Archuleta, but I finally did, and I was beyond happy that we were able to have a conversation, because I found out David Archuleta loved my Polaroid camera, because I, had to bring it so I could have my own Polaroid picture of him. So it was just such a great experience that I'll never forget. And what made it even more special was knowing that I met someone else through that, and we're still in contact to this day. So it's really such a great feeling how stepping outside of your comfort zone can really make a difference. And another lesson that I've learned is that forcing yourself to step out of your comfort zone can make a difference as well. I mean, if you guys are listening to my podcast, this is my podcast. Like, never in a million years, to be honest with you, I ever thought that I would have my very own podcast. I still can't believe it, because I am actually a shy person. I know that it doesn't really seem like that because you guys are listening to me or you're watching me on my YouTube channel, but it's the truth. It's the truth, because I was the girl in high school where I didn't want to raise my hand to ask a stupid question. Like, I just rather keep to myself and coexist with everyone else and, remain friendly with everyone, because, like I said, I love talking to people. I love meeting people. So I was always friendly with everyone, but I was also very, very shy, and I didn't want to, you know, be made fun of, because that happened a lot. That really did happen a lot, and it was just something that always kept me stuck in my shell, because of the fact that I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to be judged. And that's the thing, you guys. We just have to come to accept that we're always going to be judged no matter what, unfortunately. Like, I wish I said that it gets better. But, I mean, we just always are going to get judged no matter we want, even if we want to or not. Even if we want to or not, we're always going to get judged. And I just feel like once you come to those terms, once you are able to accept that, then we can finally move on from that. Because we can't please everyone, okay? And that was a hard lesson for me to learn too, because I was such a people pleaser. I wanted to please absolutely everyone. I wanted to do things the right way to please everyone else. And I actually had to stop myself and reevaluate everything that I was trying to do to please other people. And then I'm thinking, is this benefiting me? Like, do I actually want this? Like, how can I be true to myself and still remain the person that I am and still not have to please absolutely everyone? Like, I needed to learn how to become an individual person because it was very difficult for me to come into those terms and try to be as much of an individual as possible, because it's hard. It's hard to like stand out, because as a shy person that I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be put in the spotlight. I would be terrified of that every single second. And yeah, I just really didn't like the attention. But it was mostly not because I didn't want to be recognized, but it was mostly because I was afraid of what other people would say. And that was me just being vulnerable. And I didn't know how really to be vulnerable and be okay with people liking what I'm saying or liking what I'm doing or not. Like, I really couldn't handle any rejection. I couldn't handle any objection. Like, I don't know. It's really hard. So I think the point where I was able to sort of stop myself from wanting to please everyone else was when I actually started my podcast. That is exactly when I was able to finally come into those terms for myself, where I was able to, put my voice out there, put myself out there, voice my opinions, voice my feelings, being vulnerable about my experiences, sharing my experiences with you guys. Like, that is a huge deal for me because I normally would never do that. And not even with friends that I've been friends with for a long time know a lot of the things that I've shared in my podcast episodes. So that's just me trying to just do it. Like, I have just come into those terms because I just can't keep myself from holding back anymore. I don't want to hold myself back anymore. I don't want to hold myself back from this great opportunity, being able to talk to you guys and being able to like have this as a platform where I'm able to share my opinions, my beliefs, my experiences, the lessons that I've learned, to spread positivity, to motivate others. Like, say less. This is like my favorite thing ever right now. I'm in my zone. So I just feel like coming into those terms and just going for it, no matter how scary it is, really did help a lot, because my boyfriend was the one that actually told me to start a podcast because he saw that I loved live streaming and I loved engaging with people. So he's like, why not just start an advice? No, not advice podcast, but he said, why not just start a podcast? And I was like, no, me never. I would never do a podcast. Why would I do that? I was way too comfortable with the live streaming because no one could see me and I was fine with that. But then, thinking more about it, it slowly started coming together. Like, it sort of started making sense. It became something that I really wanted to do. And I was excited about doing that. And I feel like once I launched it, it was such like a freeing moment in my life. Like, I just felt so liberated. I felt like I was on top of the world, truly, because I was finally able to break out of that shell. Like, I can't tell you how many times my New Year's resolution in high school would be, I am going to break out of my shell and meet so many people And I couldn't cross it off because I would never really get myself to that point. Like, I would socialize, I would mingle here and there, but it was nothing that allowed me to stand out because I didn't want that. I didn't want to like stand out from anyone else. I just wanted to kind of blend in and go about, you know, doing my own thing. But having this platform is so therapeutic because I feel like it's a moment for me to reflect, and it's a moment for me to connect with all of you as well. And it's just such a heartwarming thing for me to be able to help others and give advice as well, because honestly, I wish that I did this sooner, because I feel like as the younger version of me would have really appreciated something like this. And that's why I'm doing this now. So just stepping outside of my comfort zone, forcing myself to get out and be uncomfortable, because that's where you grow the most. It's when you're so uncomfortable that it's literally so disturbing and you don't know how to handle all your feelings. But then you just do, you survive, and then you're like, wow, that wasn't so bad. I could do this again. Because I think recording my very first episode was very scary. I kept having to re-record it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, people are actually going to listen to this? Maybe? I don't know. Like, what are they going to think? Who's going to listen to it? But once I was able to kind of, come to a deciding factor that it didn't matter whether one person listened to it or whether a million people listened to it. What matters is that I launched my episode, people heard what I had to say, and my job is done. That is fine. As long as I can spread some sort of positivity and make someone's day a little brighter, my job is done. So I kept having to, force myself to not care about what others say, because at the end of the day, I am proud of what I do. I'm proud of being able to have a platform to speak my mind on, and I'm proud of also having the courage to do this, because especially like a shy person that I am, because not many people can, and that's why, I just want to be a voice for anyone who is afraid to speak up, or for anyone who needs to hear something like this right now. So I hope this podcast made you smile at least once. Stay tuned for more advice and positivity next Friday. As always, it's Mayra. Have a beautiful day. Make sure to step outside of your comfort zone today. Be uncomfortable today. At least once. Do one thing that scares you every single day. Just like that quote says. And you'll find that your life will change for the better. And put in the comments down below what exactly you did, and whether it helped you for the better or for the worse. We'll talk it out. We will talk it out, don't worry. But I'm curious as to see what it is that you have done that is out of your comfort zone after listening to this podcast, and seeing what the results are. I'm here to be your motivator, your hype girl. So just share down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!